Welcome to today's deep dive. We've got a really fascinating stack of sources on the table today, ranging from Mexican trade regulations to, technical customs guidelines. And our mission is to uncover the hidden high-stakes costs of bringing foreign goods into Mexico.
Yeah, it's quite the maze, honestly.
It really is.
It,
Because usually when you think about international trade, you picture a simple toll booth, right? You pay a little fee at the border, the gate lifts, and your cargo rolls through.
right, like a predictable administrative speed bump. But the reality at the Mexican border is, well, it's entirely different.
Exactly. Instead of a toll booth, their general import tax, or the IGI, it acts more like a national bouncer standing outside an exclusive club. Its primary job isn't just collecting revenue, it's designed to fiercely protect Mexico's domestic industries from, international competition.
And this bouncer is armed with a highly complex set of rules. I mean, depending on the product, the IGI calculates your entry fee in three ways. You've got ad-valorem, which is just a percentage of the total value.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then there's specific, which is a flat fee per physical unit, like per kilogram. Or mixed, which is, you guessed it, a combination of both.
So the entry mechanism itself is straightforward, but looking through these regulations, the actual pricing structure is incredibly intricate. I'm seeing references to something called the LEGI. This essentially acts as the master guest list, right?
Spot on. Yeah, the LEO classifies every single good on the planet using an international code system to assign its specific tariff. But the real cost driver is how the taxable base is calculated under the Ley Aduanera, the customs law.
Oh, right, because the base isn't just the factory price.
Exactly. It mandates that the taxable base includes shipping, insurance, royalties, literally every single cost incurred before that item even crossed the border.
Which, I mean, that makes sense for establishing true value. What really caught my eye in these documents, though, is who ultimately controls that master guest list. You'd assume setting tariffs is strictly a legislative process.
You would think so, yeah.
But Article 131 of the Mexican Constitution grants the president extraordinary power to instantly increase, decrease, or just completely eliminate these tariffs to regulate the economy. They can bypass Congress altogether. We're just reporting what the sources say here, but that is a massive lever to pull.
It's a fascinating mechanism. It allows for immediate economic reaction without legislative gridlock.
It definitely speeds things up. But let's say a business navigates the IGI, they pay the tariff based on that fully loaded value. They aren't actually in the clear, are they? The bouncer analogy sort of breaks down here.
It does, yeah. Because this isn't a one-time cover charge. Much better way to look at it is like a compounding snowball.
Oh, a compounding snowball. I like that.
Yeah, the IGI is just the first layer. Once that's added to the value of your goods, that new inflated total becomes the base for the standard 16% value-added tax, the IVA.
Wait, so you are legally required to calculate your sales tax on top of the import tax you just paid?
Exactly. It's that compounding effect that really catches businesses off guard.
Yeah.
And then, well, the sources detail all these targeted surcharges depending on the specific item.
Right, like the IEPS.
Precisely. The IEPS functions as a sort of sin tax aimed at things like alcohol, tobacco, and high-calorie junk foods. And if you're importing vehicles, you trigger the ISON, which is a specific new car tax.
And there's a processing fee too, right?
Yeah, the DPA.
Yeah.
That's a customs processing fee charged just for them, handling the paperwork. Usually about 8 per thousand.
I also noticed the quotas compensatorias. That stood out because it's not exactly a standard tax. It's a defensive fee levied to neutralize unfair foreign pricing, like dumping.
Right. If another country heavily subsidizes their steel, for example, Mexico slaps this fee on so local producers don't get undercut. It's an economic shield.
Okay, so with all these layers, I'm looking at the list of penalties in these guidelines, and they seem almost draconian for what could be, honestly, a simple paperwork error.
Oh, they are severe.
If an importer makes a typo on a tax ID number or accidentally miscounts a pallet, the financial hit is enormous. There doesn't seem to be any grace period.
There isn't.
Yeah.
And to understand why, you really have to look at the sheer volume of goods crossing that border. Customs officials physically cannot inspect every single box.
So the whole system relies on an honor system.
Heavily on an honor system. And to keep that honor system intact, the penalty for breaking it has to be, well, existential.
So a minor accounting error could literally bankrupt a small importer overnight.
Easily. I mean, if you omit taxes, the fine is 130 to 150% of the unpaid amount.
Wow.
And if you forget to attach a required health or safety permit, that oversight costs you 70 to 100% of the product's entire commercial value.
That's just for forgetting a permit. What if someone intentionally tries to sneak extra goods past customs, like hide an extra box in the back of the truck?
If they find more than 10% undeclared excess, they initiate a PAMA. That's an immediate physical seizure of your goods right there on the spot.
They just take it all.
Yep. And if they determine the omission was intentional fraud, that crosses the line into smuggling, which carries mandatory prison time.
Importing into Mexico is clearly not just a logistics exercise, it's an exacting science. You're trying to enter a heavily guarded economic fortress where precision is legally mandatory.
Absolutely. It demands absolute compliance because the financial and legal stakes, they really couldn't be higher.
Which leaves you with this to ponder. We mentioned that Article 131 gives the Mexican president constitutional power to alter import tariffs instantly to protect the economy. In an era of increasing global trade disputes, how might this immediate, unchecked lever be used in the future? Not just as an internal economic policy, but as a sudden geopolitical weapon. Something to think about next time you imagine moving goods across the border.